Hello, good morning, good evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I am Gerardo Pelayo, Vice President of Research and Advisory at Service Council. And I'm so excited that you're here for the conversation that we're having today on reshaping warranty in the age of intelligent service. And we have Josh Russell, who's the VP of Products from Circuitry AI, to deep dive on this important topic. Thank you, Josh, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Geraldo. Nice to meet you.
Perfect. Great. We'll get to an introduction to you in just a second. But you might notice that I'm all pumped up. And part of the reason is that in just a couple of days, we're going to have our largest gathering of the year, the Smarter Services Executive Symposium in Chicago. And many of the themes that we're going to be talking about over there, such as fighting inertia, such as increasing revenue, driving customer experience, being proactive, in all these things, incorporating technology and figuring out how AI fits truly within service, are actually topics that can and should be applied in this microcosm, if you will, of warranty and service contracts. It's an area that perhaps has been lagging in some respects. We'll get into that, whether that is true or not, but certainly one where there's a lot of opportunity, where there's some initial change that we're seeing already. And that's what we'll be trying to understand today next to Josh. Before we get into that conversation, a bit of housekeeping. As always, today's podcast is being recorded so that after the fact, you can share it with your peers. You can come back and revisit any of the material, and it will be available through all the traditional streaming media, as well as our official channels on our website and LinkedIn. And particularly for our live LinkedIn audience, we see you. We like that you participate, whether you agree with the comments that we're having, you have a follow-up question, a different point of view. Josh has agreed to think on his feet as those comments come in. So we'll do our best to incorporate those into the conversation today. And without further ado, I want to make the most out of our time. So, Josh, I've had the chance to start to get to know you during the planning sessions. I'm looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the circuitry team at that at our event next week. But why don't you give our audience a little bit of an introduction about yourself and your role at Circuitry.ai?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role at Circuitry.ai is Vice President of Products. I can give a little bit of background. I've been in the enterprise software business for about 24 years. About 18 years ago, I joined a company called AGCO Corporation. They're a global manufacturer of agricultural equipment. Started as an engineer doing diagnostics and electronic diagnostics and firmware management for our vehicle fleets. And from there, went on to be a business analyst and then a product owner as we went through our digitization journey. We digitized as a team about 25 years worth of service information that equated to about 8 terabytes worth of service information, which in 2017 was a pretty big lift in the digitization journey. But I built dealer support tools, inspection tools. We serviced about 38,000 global technicians back then. And then about 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to join Mize, who was a specialist in the transactional space on the warranty and technician enablement solutions. We built warranty systems for dozens of manufacturers and different service companies. And there I took over the role of Vice President of Products, and then recently joined Circuitry. But a little bit about me anyway.
Perfect. And just picking up on that point, to understand a little bit more about Circuitry.ai as well, who are your customers? What is the relationship that you have with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just reaching our 2-year mark here at Circuitry, and we work with dozens of OEMs. Really a global team that's fast growing. Kind of our objective here is, we're not a transactional solution provider. Our objective is we're a native AI company, and we leverage AI to provide decision intelligence as a service platform for manufacturers of, like I said, agricultural equipment, construction equipment, automotive space. We also service some customers that are looking to support consumer durables, automation and processing equipment, and also medical equipment, and also some third-party warranty administration. So a very large target audience there.
Perfect. So taking that as our baseline, I'll jump right into it. And one of the big sources of a perspective that we have is always our service leaders agenda research, which we
Mhm.
conduct at the start of the year, and there we get a glimpse of what are the focus areas for service leaders, what's top of their agenda. Process transformation of the service operations ranked at number 3 this year, and it tends to be among the top 5 consistently. 40% of service executives, in fact, brought this up as a key focus area. And we have seen that materializing in other parts, some parts of service, like shift left and remote support, and the engagement at the field service. But I would argue that when we think about warranty management, service contracts, the processes that are around this have had more of an incremental evolution to them. Meaning, there's a set of business rules. The complexity of the install base increases. The complexity of the contracts increases, and what that means is we stack more on top of those business rules.
Yep.
So that's a little bit of my perspective. Number one, would you agree with this? And if so, what are the biggest limitations with these traditional rules based systems?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. When we look at a rules based engine for doing anything from claim adjudication to automation or auditing invoice or payment rules, when we look at things like that, the engine really lacks the ability to interpret any kind of real time product usage data or really interpret the way that the claims are written. So or the way that the policies are written. So if you look at extended warranties, or if you're doing service contracts, one of the challenges is you always have to go back, and it's a very laborious thing to keep those business rules aligned with what the policies are. And at some point, those become subjective because of how they age. And it's a huge maintenance headache as well. From prior companies, we work with some OEMs, and their business rules could be 3,000 or 4,000 in total. So if you can imagine the headache of releasing a new warranty policy and then having to go back and do that internal audit to make sure that your business rules align, AI really provides a new approach in that we read and understand what those policies are and use those to kind of supplement that warranty processing process with real intelligence. And the other driver too, and one of the blockers sometimes for companies to engage is the cost of change management. When we look at laying AI on top of maybe an existing warranty process, there's lots of strategies to do that don't drive a huge cost of change, because this is really an augmentation to their existing warranty policy. If you look at something like supplier scoring, if you look at like supplier scoring or claim scoring, something like that can be laid on top of the existing warranty solution, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It does, and so let's talk about that, because artificial intelligence is the elephant in the room in almost every conversation nowadays. But when we start to look under the hood, then the conversation becomes interesting, more intricate, right? And there's the focus areas, but then there's the things that you need to improve on in order to succeed in these focus areas. And the inclusion of artificial intelligence in the service ecosystem was brought up as one of the top 3 most critical elements by 31% of these same service leaders.
Mhm.
And not just in service as a whole, but if we focus on service supply chain, for example, one of the top reasons for the challenges they face was the inability to operationalize AI and ML, or machine learning mechanisms, into their business. So if we go to that next level of depth, what's and you already started to give us a taste of it, but what's the overview of the fundamentals ways in which AI is really transforming this the way we think about the processes in warranty and service contracts?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at it, I mean, traditionally, business rules led to, a very rigid execution of warranty, and also when it came down to kind of the pressures that your adjudicators could be under, maybe we were allowing too much goodwill to go out, or we were approving things out of policy. If we take a step back and look at what AI can do, when we start looking at, including claim scoring into that automated adjudication process, using machine models that are trained not only on on policies. We talked about how that can be incorporated, but also repair usage or product usage plus repair history. Plus any kind of external conditions. We're talking about bringing in telematics and things like that. So the benefit is you get faster, more accurate adjudication of those claims. It's a benefit kind of up and down that whole service channel.
Yeah, and one of the things I might add is you spoke about how manual the process can be with all these
Yep.
business rules, right? And because of that, limitation is the type of questions that you're able to focus on, which is this transactional aspect
Mhm.
that we can get boggled by. So if I extracted a little bit more from your response, one of the things that stood out to me was that the questions that we allow the OEMs to address are also changing. They're changing from being efficient at these transactions
Mhm.
into then how can I leverage all this information and find new opportunities, find that revenue, find that hidden cost. And I see you nodding there.
Yeah, it's a perfect place to use AI when we talk about, if you want to compare, just that product, uh, kind of that product service history, and you compare that to what's being submitted. When you look at the quality of data that comes in off the claim, when we look at anomaly detection and flagging claim patterns, stuff like that is very difficult for an adjudicator to do today. That's why AI is a great way to supplement that and really improve those outcomes.
Great, great. And and so one of those things, key component in AI is the intelligence itself
Mhm.
that generates, and we've seen that continuing to be a point of friction across the organization, from service leadership, where some of the KPIs are hard to interpret, all the way to the front line.
Mhm.
That we hear there's not enough data. Sometimes there's too much data being thrown at us.
Yeah.
At other points, it depends on what type of data we're talking about. Just to share one of those data points, the time spent searching for data,
Mhm.
currently the number one or number two friction point,
Mhm.
depending on number one for field service engineers, number two for remote support agents in their day to day. So in order to avoid that trap of having too many business rules and just having all of the accurate, perhaps, and necessary data, but available in one place, how,
Yeah.
how do we translate that into what actually makes intelligence that would change the way that the warranty system is managed, simplify it?
Yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, when you look at serialized products in general, when you build it, so you have the as built, and then you have the service history. It might have, the manufactured standard warranty. It has a maintenance contract. Could have an extended warranty. So
Hmm.
when a claim comes in, you have to evaluate all that information. When was the product purchased? What types of warranty are in play? I may be going out and looking at, vehicle build sheet information. I may be going out and looking at, so if that's the product that I've identified, I have to go back and start evaluating contracts. It's just a lot of information to process. So one of the strategies is, if we pull together an agentic workflow, incorporate some analysts in there, what that allows us to do is incorporate this data from the CRM, from the ERP, even bringing in work orders from dealer management systems. And these dealer management systems don't have to be owned or controlled by the OEM, but we can still ingest all of that information. And then if you look at how technology is impacting those products, a lot of them have telemetry on it. When I was still working at the OEM, more than 20% of our products or 15% of our products had some type of basic telemetry on it. So, how would an individual be able to surface all of that information and then make a determination? So what we do with these agentic workflows and these analysts is we pull this information together and provide the best kind of 360 view of the warranty that we can, and that's what we do that warranty claim scoring on, and then offer them some insights that they wouldn't have had on their own, if that makes sense.
It does, and that putting together a story really is one of those places where transformation starts to resonate to me. There's you tend to to have the experts in the original manuals, the experts on the install base and the telemetry of the asset. As
Yeah.
you start getting information back from the field, there's these notes that get captured in the system as add-ons, and now you have to go to that guy and check if anything has changed in the last couple of weeks because
No. It's an
you're
incredibly common problem across all OEMs, right? Even thinking about how AI ingests information, there's no longer a reason to categorize things as, this came out of an operator manual, this came out of a service manual. A lot of times those are stored in different repositories, and then I have all the information from the CRM. I have all the warranty history over here in my warranty management system. What we're doing is ingesting from multiple sources, or using some kind of agent to reach out and pull that information into the conversation in real time. And that's where the real power comes from. It's really getting to that, a lot of people call that single pane of glass where I can see everything in one shot. And then that allows us to make the most accurate assessment when it comes to adjudication or even claim scoring.
good. And so I will get to what does that look like, not just for the OEM, which is where we're focusing right now, but there's a whole part of the channel downstream.
Mhm.
But before that, you were talking about this the efficiency, and that saves time. It improves the experience for the adjudicators, absolutely. But a question that emerges to me is, well, what's the purpose behind that, and have you seen a shift in now that their bandwidth is expanded? Are they looking into other higher value added activities, perhaps in the implementations that you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. When we look at that, a lot of the KPIs that we study are, as you mentioned, productivity based, but there are other things that are also important to the OEMs that we're working with, and that is, things like focusing on appeals as part of your KPI. Because if you look at appeals, that really has an impact on dealer and also in consumer experience. Because if we can do things like focus on appeal count, which means that we've done an adjudication and there's been a disagreement on how that claim resolved. If you can support that with the output from the claim score, if you can defend that, what you can do is then get real savings back. Fraud detection, risk management, all of those factors come into play. And what that does is it frees up time for that warranty team to really look at, contract optimization. What is the true profitability of our contracts? We are focused over here doing all of this work that's processing, adjudication. Shouldn't we be more focused on what's our appeal percentage? What's our profitability of those contracts? And are we really collaborating? Right? It was one of the challenges when I was at the OEM is that, the service team is usually here in a silo, warranty teams over here in a silo. We really want to start looking more across, those landscapes. And by freeing up that time with warranty teams and with service teams through AI, what that allows for is more collaboration across business units.
Yeah, that's a great example, and it really elevates the function to a more strategic level. Again, I go back to the from the transactional of just keep it going to now you're starting to ask questions of, does this contract make sense? Are we enforcing the rules that are in place? And that doesn't mean to sacrifice or forget about the customer experience.
Yep.
In fact, quite the opposite if you're doing it effectively. And you started talking about the metrics. That's interesting because we have seen in general a shift in the traditional metrics that organizations
Mhm.
are using as well. For example, the percentage of customers that are under a service contract, the renewal rate of service contracts,
Mhm.
they both were in the top quartile of the metrics that service executives are tracking for 2025. That wasn't the case even as early as last year. It used to be more on the traditional transactional, the utilization and how much time and how many claims am I doing, not necessarily looking at the quality and the impact that claim management process was having on the bottom line. So as you think about that, and you also brought up
That brings up
fraud.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to talk over you. But I mean, that brings up another great point is, a lot of the customers that we're speaking with, one of the challenges is, they're growing their business and they are selling more contracts. And the challenge is now they're at a bandwidth challenge, because if they don't get to where they're auto processing a lot of these claims, and they're reviewing and processing the service involved in these preventative maintenance contracts and service contracts, they don't have the bandwidth to grow. So it becomes not an option, not a nice to have. This is now key for the business operation. Sorry to talk over you. I just thought about a
No,
conversation I had
uh,
yesterday. Yeah,
spot on. That's easily missed. That having more contracts and generating more revenue doesn't automatically increase your profits.
that's right.
In
Yeah.
some cases, it could directly hit the bottom line, and it starts to damage your long-term customer experience. It could damage the relationship that you have with your own workforce, with the partner. So definitely big picture is needed there. And I wanted to come back to you brought up fraud into
Mhm.
the conversation, so I'll blame it on you. You brought it up. Now let's jump on it.
Yeah.
But as I referenced the symposium at the top, breaking from inertia is one of the main tracks that we're bringing up this year. We have a panel dedicated to that, of what are the places where not changing for the sake of changing, but where we need to revisit some of the assumptions, revisit the effectiveness, the purpose of the processes that are in place.
Yeah.
And some of the anecdotal conversations I've had are that either because of lack of bandwidth, because
Mhm.
of let's prioritize the customer experience, um, or we simply don't have access to the data that we would need to validate whether a claim is true or not on time and meet the SLAs. Very often, it's just go for it, just give it to them.
Yep.
Let's assume that it is, and that could lead to bad behavior, intentional or unintentional, from the customers, and a lot of money being left on the table, a lot of bandwidth being misutilized by your teams. So, what is your experience around this? How can OEMs, to start off, identify whether this is an issue for them or not, and then how to go around it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have fraud detection built into our agents. It's one of the things we look at. Our claims being routinely submitted within just at the border or the boundary of the policy. Our subsequent claims coming in for similar failures. All that basic stuff is a component of our of our claim scoring agent. But there's also, that's just one aspect when we look at, the overall kind of oversourcing, or that goodwill or out of warranty kind of thing that we're doing, because we understand the model, and dealers and customers, OEMs and manufacturers want to keep that body happy, and it's always a challenge. So what we're doing is trying to take the, if you will, the emotions out of that, and really just stand up. This is the claim score, all grounded in fact, all grounded in this is the policy. Provide the best kind of resolution of that claim possible. When you talk about the size of loss, I mean, we're talking about 2 to 3%, as far as industry benchmarks are concerned, of warranty is through unnecessary approvals. And how do we do that? How do we approach that in a way that's fair to both parties, and it maintains customer satisfaction, but still we prevent that kind of loss? I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars here, just in the U.S. market.
Yeah, and going back to a comment you made earlier, when you have all these transactions in your queue, and it's a nonstop queue, by
It's
the
pressure,
way,
constant pressure, because
then
that's a KPI. I'm sorry to talk over you, but that is a KPI for a lot of warranty teams that have to get this stuff processed. And if we can lighten that burden, if we can relieve some of that pressure by looking at things as basic as a maintenance contract claim, right? If those things are within tolerance, those should be automated. And so we're looking at, some customers will come to us with a target goal. If we want to get to 75, 80% auto adjudication, and that's absolutely a target that we can hit. Sorry if I spoke over you there.
no, you actually set up my next question, because my reason was, the longer the queue, the easier that you're gonna miss some of these things. You're more pressured. You want to get through it. You want to go to the next one, and your focus uh, might might fall. So, as we bring back AI into that picture,
Mhm.
is this fraud detection, fraud prevention? Is this an area where you're seeing AI go not just from the it can help in theory, but that it has created some impact?
Some what? I'm sorry. Some.
Where AI has helped to identify fraud, to reduce
Yeah, absolutely. I
fraud
mean,
instances.
it'll absolutely surface it. If attachments are included and we can prove that they've been tampered with, or the location codes don't match where the repair was done. Also comparing them to work orders. That's always an interesting thing, is if you can adjust the work orders, you can see any discrepancies there. And then, also ensuring that we're not getting a high rate, also reflecting that back to the service body and saying, hey, can we get a score for our dealers? Can we get a score for our service partners? And then just kind of having that conversation with them is, looking at the data, again, taking that emotion out and just having a conversation with what they're seeing. That's always a difficult conversation to have with any service partner when you want to bring up fraud.
Yeah, and creating that visibility, I think it's. I was going to ask you about the pitfalls to avoid or best practices.
Mhm.
You might have others, but that in fact looks like a big one. It's not just a plug and play AI, but how do you do it in a responsible manner so that it doesn't negatively affect your customer experience?
Yeah, and I think when you incorporate that and you bundle that together with like a composite claim score, it adds to the conversation. But it's not the primary focus of that claim score. There are other things that we're looking at too that can be just as damaging. Parts out of alignment when we see that parts are submitted that historically, if we've also ingested historical claims, so we can very quickly determine whether the parts for that specific causal part, so the point of the failure, if that's driving labor operation codes or labor costs, and a part list that's out of the norm, we can flag that and score it. And then we can do something with that. We can either flag that for a further investigation, maybe a further inspection. But there's lots of benefits that come out of that, right? It's not just the decision
Mhm.
making; it's also that decision support. Is that we want to enable, that warranty analyst with the best information that we can provide them and make it available instantaneously. So it's there sitting, again, going back to that, lowering the cost of any kind of change management. We want to put that knowledge, that intelligence, that decision intelligence layer, we want to put that right on top of their warranty system. So as they're processing that claim, they see that score. They can drill into it. They can use that as they make their ruling. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It does huge change management lever there. The not just adding another application, but incorporating it in a way that simplifies the process.
Yeah.
I really wanted to emphasize that. And um, before before I let you go, I want to talk about the bigger picture,
Mhm.
because the OEMs are certainly the ones that perhaps have a vested interest in improving this, right?
Yep.
But the consequences of changing these processes, getting to the dealerships, getting to the end customer, get like there's this broader channel. Can you
Yep.
shine some light on what that channel looks like, and how do they benefit, or how they're impacted from everything that we've been
Yeah.
talking about?
And really, we're seeing improvements across all of those channels. So when you talk about dealer pain points, you talk about providing them with instant validation. So if you go back to when I was discussing, hey, that direct ingestion of a work order, we can even provide some pre-service information that, hey, we've seen repairs like that previously. This is what you should prepare for your service event. And we look at that work order turning into a claim, right? So we have some agents that'll turn that work order directly into a claim. So the claim filing. So if you think about all the administrative work that technicians are doing today, or dealer networks are doing today, where they're submitting that claim, there's huge benefits there that we're getting the repair correct right first time. And then we're also reducing all of that administrative overhead. So that's from the dealership standpoint. From the technician experience, the ability to surface information, right? Mostly we're talking about warranty today, but also for the technician experience, any piece of service information, Also, any kind of expert advice offered from the manufacturer, from the OEM, all of that stuff can be serviced as the model grows. But just the idea of optimizing that experience for the technician and then for the end customer, right? If you think about that consumer, that shows that manufacturer, that OEM to purchase from, they get a better experience because their repairs are right first time. They get increased uptime for the operation of that product or vehicle. And also when we talk about extended warranties or service contracts, right? Because we have the data to make better decisions about how to price those, how to sell those, makes it a better experience for the end customer, right? Because you can offer better contracts, you can offer better extended warranties to those end consumers. So really just a better experience all around for that end consumer.
Yeah, I love that response, partly because it resonates strongly with maturity framework that we have created, Service Council, Service Index.
Yep.
And that really talks about, in order to deliver a holistic service experience, you have to look at the business experience or your financials, which we went on deeply. But then the other two that you just explained, their impact, the employee experience and the customer experience.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding the consequences for all of them is really what elevates, what points out, hey, these are the opportunities, these are the gaps, these are the places where you need to connect the dots.
Absolutely.
And whether it's through data, through technology, through people, the processes that are going to bring this all together, that I really like that you're thinking in those terms.
Absolutely. And you know, Rhett, at the end of the day, the OEM, the manufacturer, I mean, they really benefit as well because they get that consistency across the entire network. Because at the end of the day, they are responsible for all that. Unhappy customers, lower sales, unhappy dealer network. You know, there's all these benefits that roll up to the manufacturer, the OEM. It just creates trust throughout that process. That's one of the things in my experience in doing warranty for so many years. That's the one thing that if you can drive an effective warranty system where there's trust between your service network, your service and your dealerships and the OEM, that's really when it works well.
Yeah, and perhaps it's when we think about transformation, it's moving the needle from a negotiation where I get this and that means you lose that, to we're moving beyond the zero sum game where value is truly being generated across the channels.
And you can prove it consistently. I mean, that's the thing, is that this really surfaces all of that intelligence. And it really helps. It does when you start with the facts. But the thing is, you have to have them first. And to do that, it takes some machine learning to ingest all that information in order to get to that information. But yeah, it's definitely the future. Yep, or it's today, if you ask me. So
yes. So I'll be looking forward to continuing this conversation when we're in Chicago. You're going to be there on Monday, I believe. You have a breakout session to further deep dive into how to implement AI within this complex critical equipment.
Yeah, please sign up for the workshop, for the breakout. We'd love to go through it with you, but we have a couple of very simple strategies on how to apply different AI service workers to solve very common challenges in across this service network. So yeah, stop by, say hello. I'd love to meet you.
Excellent. And just to motivate that before wrapping up, Josh, we've talked a lot about the warranty side. You've shown a light on some of these things. Can you share a little bit about yourself, some passion projects, something that you're looking forward to over in the near term?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Apart from continuing to educate, I love to learn, I love to read, but probably most important to me is family. So we have a vacation coming up in October. So I'm really looking forward to that, spending some time with family. And we're outside a lot. We live here in Florida. So we have the one season, but I'm looking forward to getting the camper out and having some adventures here in the fall, or the summer as we call it here in Florida. It always seems to be summer, but anyway.
Should be fun. I mean, in my book, everything seems to be going back to the conference these days, but purpose is a big thing. We're focusing on that on day one, and having a clear purpose, your family, spending time with that. Great way to wrap us up. Josh, once again, thank you for joining us today, for sharing your point of view on this. For our audience, reminding you that today's podcast was recorded. It will be available throughout anywhere that you listen to podcasts, as well as our Service Council website, the LinkedIn page. Looking forward to see many of you in Chicago next week, and looking forward to seeing the larger audience in the rest of our events and the next edition of our inService podcast. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Geraldo. Thanks.